Everyone, we are back with the final session of the Miro kind of training and onboarding. I'm going to be going through the collaboration tools. So I'm going to hop back into the design review template. Where we left off, we had these beautiful images. I'm sure someone would think I'm going crazy if they came in here, but we'll just use these going forward. So we're going to go over collaboration tools, and actually I'm going to just close that out. So in order to find collaboration tools, what you want to do, they're going to be in the left-hand corner of your screen, bottom left. And these are really helpful for organizing presentations, for running brainstorming sessions, looking at comments. So I'll go from left to right, just because they are extremely, I can say the frames are the most used in the presentation mode, but also referencing chat, comments, cards, they're all great for running meetings, and I use them really frequently with the rest of the design technology team. And I'm actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep that with, actually let me just go over here, I'll just do a couple shapes, and then I'll actually change it to a card. So I'll be like, let's say I'm working on Peter, I'll do me, and then I'll just duplicate that a couple times. So this feature looks like. Okay, so let's say I was working on a presentation and I was using these frames and I wanted to kind of present with that. Let's see where my other frame is. Okay, so down here. Great, so that one's going to be empty for now. But what I can do is if I click on frames, it's going to open up this sidebar and it's going to give you an overall view of where your frames are on your entire board. You can, from here, you can reorder. So if I wanted to switch this up and say, okay, that one's blank, I can actually just delete it, or I can export it as an image or a CSV. You have all these options. You can also add a frame below this one. So you can imagine it almost like a Google slide function. It's really great. So you can add frames. You can also hide any of these as well from this view, or you can view it in a list view. But I typically use it as a grid. It's way more visual. So from frames, that's how you would modify them or look at them from a very high level. And let's say I wanted to present these frames. If you go into presentation mode, it automatically zooms in to your like kind of last frame you were selected on. So what I want to do is I want to navigate to my first frame, and you can swap in between them, which I typically stay in this view if it was relatively informal. But if I wanted to present this to a formal setting, I can click on the present button and it will automatically go full screen, which is really helpful, and you're able to click through these. I can already tell this is an amazing presentation, so I'm going to export this one out because I know this is where the big bucks really are. Okay, so that is presentation mode, and let's say you know, I wanted to view the comment that Georgia actually just left me. So what happens if I go to comments? I'm actually able to expand this and be like, okay, see, and you'll see the actual exchange. And I'll be like, okay, so I can say, all right, good. So what I can do is I can go in, I can click on the comment, and then I can resolve that totally easily. Great. And then also what you can do is you can go over here and you can see show resolved comments, or you can hide them, which is also very convenient if you're kind of going back looking through the history of your comments. You can also check and see where your mentions are at. So I do show resolved. I should have one over here, and then the comments, and then any mentions would be kind of more in line, not necessarily within a comment. You'll be able to see yourself what has showed up. You can also kind of go between different notes. Well, over here, and this kind of expanded in the previous video, I showed you how you have notes over here. This is how you filter down between all versus the board versus notes. Okay, same thing for chat. I don't really foresee too much use of the chat function, but if you wanted to use this like as an ongoing thing for a particular project, this would be a good way to either keep track of your brainstorming session or decisions that were made. So you could go over here and say like, Georgia, I don't know if I can have mention here, but let me try, hey, Peter. This is important and then I can do there you go. So it looked like it wasn't showing up because it was the @ symbol was the first letter, but that's how you do inline notifications through the chat. And you can just type in here. I'll do another random comment, and I'll just keep track of that. So it's just an ongoing chat if you really wanted to use that while you're brainstorming or going through a meeting. Okay, next, cards. So the things that I created over here were actually cards. They're pretty unique for Miro in that you can add colors to them, you can add an assignee to them, and you can also add descriptions. So this is, think of this almost as like a task card. So if I wanted to do any like task management, which people do in Miro, you're able to add that. So let's say this is a Peter task. I'm gonna be like, talk to Peter later today. Cool. And I can add an assignee to that, where I can add other people, and I can also add a due date. Let's say that's for tomorrow, and then I can also link to that. Great. So and then that information will show up here, and that's why you want to be able to reference your cards. You want a holistic view of them over time. Next, we have screen sharing. So I'm able to actually share my screen, which I'm doing right now. These are tools where you would be able to present and share. So whether you want to use your mic, your video, turn that on, and then add additional people, you can. Voting is actually, I love this feature in Miro, especially if you're doing like, you had a bunch of sticky notes where you're doing a brainstorming session where it's like, let's see, or actually I'll do cats. I'll vote on the cats. That's actually a great idea. So if I wanted to vote on these cats, like which one is the cutest? Okay, so the way I would do that is I would go to my voting screen. Let's say I want to do top 3 votes and I want to have 1 minute in order to do them. You can only have 1 vote per object, and then select objects only. I can select these guys and then press start. I can join voting, and I can keep it anonymous if you wanted to, but what you can do is I only have a couple votes. So I'm gonna be like, okay, I love the sushi guy, for sure, flower, and then also Pikachu 100%. And then I've already finished voting. I can go to my end voting session. And so what this will do is that it will tally up all your results for you and say, all right, each one of these received 1 vote. They're completely anonymous, and it's honestly great for like if you're trying to find what a solution is, and you want to keep it anonymized. This is also a really cool and really powerful feature. Cool. I can also set a time. Well, I skipped over one, so you can do video chat. Again, very similar to screen sharing. You can do a timer. So let's say I wanted to set a timer for a brainstorming session or anything like that. I can either decrease the amount of minutes. I can pick a certain background music. I'm a particular fan of chill beats and cosmic vibe. I need to make sure they add additional more, and then all you do is just press play. So I don't know if that's playing for you guys, but sometimes the audio is a little messed up for me. Okay. And then board history, a very important one. So board history is always saved. So you can go back to the beginning of when the board was created, and you can also store versions. So if you ever need to roll back to a previous version, you'll be able to restore this just by pressing this little button right here as a store the separate board. Okay. So that was pretty much it for the collaboration tools. If there's anything else, I'll kind of go over this really quickly. So if I wanted to full screen everything, I can do that. You can also minimize, you can also pin the map so you understand where you are in the context of the board. And then also you can fit to screen. So if you want to diverse zoom out, you get a good view of that. Okay, and I think that covers pretty much everything within the Miro board. If there's any questions that you have, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to go over this again or give you concrete examples, but for the most part, I think you guys should be good. All right, have a good night. Bye.